My name's Tom James. I'm the manager of a family-owned superfine wool merino property in central Victoria at Redesdale. The family's actually been here for 100 years this year, and it sort of marks the centenary of our ownership here with this new shed which replaces the old shed. I think it was originally built in the 1870s, and it's been in the back of my mind of replacing the old shed due to its inefficiencies and occupational health and safety hazards. And I guess as luck would have it, the old shed lost part of its roof, and that was enough of an encouragement for us to go ahead and pull the old shed down and engage ProWay to come and look at the options that we had for building a new shearing shed. Well, we run on 3,500 acres. We run about 7,500 adult sheep, and we shear 2,500 to 3,000 lambs each year. And we're actually contracted with Redesdale spinning mill in Italy at the moment to supply wool of a certain specification to them. Once we cleared the old shed away, we got in touch with ProWay, specifically Joe Hoban. He came down and had a site inspection, and we discussed things like orientating the shed, access, and a requirement I wanted was to have the grating at least 2 metres off the ground so we could enable easy access underneath for cleaning the manure out from under the shed. Being on a slope enabled that to happen relatively easily. We've put a retaining wall through the middle of the shed, recommended by ProWay, and that's given us the height underneath the grating. We went back and forth with various design changes and finally settled on a design which we thought was appropriate for our needs. And Tim Marr took over as a project manager, and he liaised with the company that supplied and erected the shed and worked out the shutter positions and the door openings, and any changes that would happen, Joe would make the adjustment on a drawing and shoot the drawings through on an email. Yeah, it was all quite an efficient, straightforward process. One of the early requests I made to Joe was that we needed the shed for shearing in late October, and from the word go I was given that undertaking that would be the case, and to ProWay's credit, that's the way it happened. The shed was supplied by a Kyneton company called Central Steel. We've gone 30 metre long shed by 18 metres, and it's given us a bit of extra room on the sides for the lunch room and washing up area, and then also for storing wool bales and so forth. It seemed to be a relatively seamless process to interact between ProWay and the shed company to make sure everything was going to fit, and the actual fit out of the shed was completed by early October. Occupational health and safety was a big factor with our thinking. The safety aspects from the staff in the shed has been well thought out. All those sort of issues seem to have been addressed. There's a lot more room and less trip hazards in this shed than what we had in our old shed. And the sawtooth board, it minimises the amount of twisting and turning that the shearer has to do. They do a straight drag, a relatively short drag, straight to the stand, and then when the shearer's on the last leg of the sheep, they just roll down the chute, and it's far more efficient than the old shed was. The catching pens are all on the conventional wooden battens. The shearers certainly enjoy the sloped pen, which reduces the weight that they have to pull to the stand. And then behind the catching pens, our floor, we've used the fiberglass reinforced plastic grating, which I'm most impressed with. It's quiet, and it's, as far as I can see, it's going to be a very low maintenance flooring. It's all so well thought out where the position of the gates and the sheeted panels, it just helps draw the sheep through the shed. It's a far easier task to do than the old shed. You can slide the gate back behind the sheep in one pen and swing it round behind them and close it, and just given the better light and much better head space, it just seems to promote better sheep flow through the shed. Our old shed, we were following the sheep around with hammers and nails, putting the old battens back in, whereas I can pen up here and be relaxed about the fact the sheep are going to be safe. There's going to be no risk of any damage through battens being lifted up. I think any steps you can take on farm to improve animal welfare, it creates a good story that can follow the product through to the end market. It's a much more pleasant place to be. That we've got great airflow through it with the shutters. I think maybe being high up off the ground probably helps ventilation a bit too. And then the 9 metre wide opening, that just helps draw a breeze through with the shutters open on the northern end. All the components for the fit out arrived in the back of a couple of B-doubles, and it's just amazing to see it all come together. The quality of the finish is first class. We had a couple of builders that did the fit out of the shed that ProWay engaged, and their attention to detail was second to none. To quantify the return on investment is a difficult thing, but when you look at the lifespan you can expect to get out of a shed like this, an annual basis, it's not a lot of money. I could have spent probably half the price of what it cost me to build this shed on our old shed, but I think there was just no value in spending good money after bad. ProWay seemed to have terrific exposure in the marketplace, and the feedback that we got from people that have worked with ProWay in the past has been nothing but positive. The experience that I had working with ProWay was first rate. They'd return phone calls, they're easy to contact, they listen to your requirements, they make suggestions, and they produce the goods to a point that's well above your expectations. From that point of view, I couldn't recommend them more highly.